CBS Sports HQ presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm Chris Hassel with you here as we gear up for Week 2 in the NFL after a record-tying 9 opening weekend upsets. We have 2 divisions that are still perfect, 1 division that's still winless, and it's not the NFC least. Dallas and Washington kicking off Week 2 on Thursday.
It wasn't an ideal start to the season for either the New York Giants or the Washington football team. Daniel Jones and the Giants offense looked overwhelmed against the Broncos defense. And if Jones doesn't start making progress soon, the fan base will begin to lose patience.
It's about executing. It's about correcting certain things and making plays. It's plays we can make.
As for the football team, they're going to need to rely on their defense to win games, as they'll be without quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick for the short term. But Taylor Heinicke has shown that he's not afraid of the moment and has every intention of trying to prove he's capable of being a starting quarterback.
I think the biggest thing is just going out there with some confidence, and throughout the week, just preparing, every day, that gives you that confidence.
Will the football team get back on track under Heinicke at home in the district, or will the G-men get into the win column and start to make noise in the NFC East? It might be only Week 2, but going 0-2 will be a tall task for either team to climb back from.
Giants and Washington to kick off Week 2 in the National Football League. Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn, Chris Hassel. You guys already picked Week 1.
We did.
This season we are keeping track of your picks. How'd we do?
We didn't win you anything. Well, we didn't lose
No
anything
blood.
either.
Nobody lost any money.
No blood.
Nobody lost any money.
No one lost anything.
Neither one of us pulled away from the other one.
No
Not
controversy.
like last year when I won big.
Just Pete, you make like 3 different picks throughout.
He claims he wins everything.
Oh, if
and
I
he
win,
has
I win.
no trophies to show for it.
No, well, nobody gives out trophies for these.
Well, no one gives you anything if you ever win.
Oh, I won. I've been a winner my whole life.
Well, let's pick the kickoff game. Don't listen to me because I said it was Cowboys in Washington. It's not. It's Giants in Washington. Daniel Jones just beats up on Washington. 4-0 in his career against Washington.
Yeah, but this is a different defense this year. And I think you look at the offensive line, they've never really come along, Pete. I think they're going to struggle versus that Washington football front. And I like Taylor Heinicke. I think he adds an element to this Washington offense where he's mobile. He's able to run the football a little bit. We're seeing that become more of an in vogue thing. Teams are sprinkling it in. I like Washington on the short week at home in this spot versus the Giants and a Daniel Jones at quarterback that still has not learned to take care of the football.
You're bucking a lot of trends by taking Washington, but so am I. And I agree with you. I think when you look at this game, you have to look at the defensive line of the Washington football team against the Giants offensive line. It's that simple. They will dominate them. I don't think the Washington defensive line played as well as I expected them to play last week. I thought they would dominate that game. They didn't. And therefore they didn't win the football game. In this one, they will dominate. They will get after Daniel Jones. And the line isn't that good. You mentioned it for the Giants. And on the flip side, here's a question. This is a legitimate question. If Taylor Heinicke plays really well for 3 or 4 games,
yes.
does he stay?
Yes, he does.
He does, right?
I mean, unless they're going to bring in Cam Newton, unless they're going to bring someone else.
No, if it's him or Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, well, Fitzpatrick isn't going to come back anytime soon.
Well, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah, but if he's playing well enough, you go with the hot hand.
You would stay
We've
with
seen that time and time again. And plus, I still think he has something to prove. So at this point, yes, if that scenario plays itself out. By the way, it's not like the Chargers are some slouch or their offensive line, and they can get the job done. So
that was a rebuilt offensive line, though. I mean, you had a rookie left tackle.
Herbert's a little mobile too. I think you got to be careful sometimes about how you rush a guy like that. Which again, I think that plays to the advantage of the Washington football team. You let Heinicke outside the pocket, he will hurt you with his legs. So that simplifies some things for their offense. I like what I think he's going to bring to the table here in the short week. I really do.
I agree. And here's the other thing: Saquon Barkley. This is a short week. You're coming off, ACL. You played a little bit on Sunday. Now you got to play on a Thursday. That could be a problem. No Evan Ingram either.
10 carries, 26 yards for Saquon Barkley in Week 1 against the Denver Broncos, and just doesn't look like a very good matchup for him in this one either. Our fantasy guys say, wait for Week 3. Don't sell Saquon Barkley just yet. He could be a factor down the road. Let's move on to Sunday's games, 1 o'clock Eastern time. 49ers on the road against Philadelphia, 2 teams that won in Week 1. 49ers 3.5-point favorites against a Jalen Hurts-led team, and Jalen Hurts really good in Week 1.
I cannot get over how that offense looked. And it's either that Atlanta's that bad or it's just Nick Sirianni. And one of the things he said this past week was we would have worked with our players' strengths before we worry about scheme. And I love that. You don't hear enough coaches say that at the NFL level. But what does Jalen Hurts do well? He can run the football. So what do? We implement some zone reads, quarterback runs, RPOs, all those things that play to his strengths. Don't try to make the young man something he's not. He doesn't need to be that pocket passer yet. He's continued to improve playing from the pocket, Pete. But I think if he continues to play that way, they're going to be a sneaky good team in the NFC East this year. I don't know if they're going to win this game, but I'm willing to take the 3.5 points because I think they can keep it close. If he plays the way he did against Atlanta, they will win the NFC East. He was impressive. Now, Atlanta's bad. They don't rush the passer very well. The secondary's suspect at best. Well, I'm more concerned about their offense not being able to put up points. And then the offensive side, they got dominated. The pass rush got after Matt Ryan, and I think the pass rush will be in play here. I know the 49ers want to run the ball. No Mostert, so you're going to go to a backup running back, whoever it is, Trey Sermon, for whatever reason. Coming in there? For whatever reason, Trey Sermon was inactive. Why was he inactive? There's questions out there about that. Brandon Ayuk was inactive. So two big players supposedly on that team were inactive. I think they'll run the ball, but I think the Eagles are the play here. I think the Eagles will find a way to win this game. Remember, what are the San Francisco 49ers doing, Brady? Well, they're mixing in the kind of two quarterbacks. What are they doing? They're playing back-to-back road games. That's true. Back-to-back road games. They are staying on the Eastern time zone, though, which before you play a home game, you're playing back-to-back road games. It's early in the season, Pete. I don't know if you should break that one out yet. Oh, yeah. Are you not concerned with the way they let Detroit back in the game? That's my one thing in the back of my mind is San Francisco with a huge lead. And I realize an onside kick, that's a low percentage chance. Maybe you call it luck. But still, it's 41-17 with 1:56 left. And all of a sudden it's 41-33 and you're watching Detroit drive with a chance to win. That concerned me. And then watching Nick Bosa not be as effective as we've seen him in years past. And Jason Verrett went down in that game, so now they're down a corner, and that's part of the reason why they were able to come back. So that is a concern. I like the Eagles not only to cover this game, I think they win it out. Wow, upset special from Petey Prisco.
There you go. Old Johnny DiMuzio in the newsroom would be through the roof.
Yes, he will be.
If his Eagles go 2-0. What do you think we're going to see from Trey Lance in this game?
I think we'll see what we've seen before. They'll mix him in situationally. It makes a lot of sense. Third and short yardage in general, down in the red zone too, where the quarterback becomes more of a running threat because of the condensed portion of the field. I think that's how they're going to use him. And I think they'll use him to run the football a little bit and then implement some passes off of that. I know you're not a fan of it, and I get it, but he is the future there. And this is what Kyle Shanahan sees. And as I've said to you before, it drives defensive coordinators nuts when you have a guy like that you throw in every once in a while. Now they have to prepare for it every week. So that's what the Eagles defensive staff is dealing with. Even though they do have a quarterback that they look across and they go, well, we get that with Jalen Hurts every time we go ones-on-one. So what's different for us? They know what it is. Exactly. Not scaring anybody. But Jimmy Garoppolo throws for over 300 yards. He's got to come out of the game. Come on.
In agreement once again on the game, though. Both the guys like a lot of lock unity going on. Is that what you're saying? Yes, lock unity. Eagles plus 3.5 is this pick here. Let's move on to the Rams at the Colts. The line is Rams -4, over under 47.5. Matthew Stafford, it's what a lot of our experts thought we might see. Stafford opening things up. He had his career best passer rating in that game against the Bears. Well, yeah, it's because the Bears decided not to play defense. Yeah. I mean, Pete, when's the last time you've seen a secondary that lets Cooper Kupp get 20 yards behind everyone? I could have made that throw. Well, a lot of people could have made that throw. The reality is this. Look, whether you want to chalk it up to the genius of Sean McVay, Chicago taking a big step back, and who knows where their season's going. It doesn't matter for this matchup. The Rams now have to go on the road. They don't have that home field advantage anymore. And you've got a Colts team that I think was incredibly disappointing in week 1. I think they've got something to prove. We're going to see a better version of Carson Wentz. We're going to see a better version of that Colts defense. Again, I'll take the 4 points with the home dog here and the Colts in this one. You may be on the other side of it, but I got to see this 2 weeks in a row for the Rams before I jump on that bandwagon. I get it. Because there was a ton of overreaction to week 1 with the Rams. They were playing at home in their new stadium for the first time with fans, and the Bears stink. I mean, what do you expect from Matt Stafford? Yet everybody, I know guys that have him in the Hall of Fame already. He was good. He wasn't like he was the greatest thing in the world. This is a tough challenge now going out on the road after your big win. But I still think that defensive front, Aaron Donald will have a big day in this game, and that's going to be the difference in the game. So I like the Rams. I wanted to take. Look, I love the matchup. I wanted to take the Colts. Brady. I love the matchup of him and Quentin Nelson, whatever that presents. Move him over to the other side a little bit. Well, then we'll have to move him around, but they find ways of singling up Aaron Donald. That's the biggest key, and that's how you get a lot of those bare fronts or solid fronts where you cover up at least 3 offensive linemen to one side or both guards in your center.
that's how you find ways of singling them up. Regardless, that's going to be a matchup to watch. But, Carson didn't seem comfortable. I don't know if it's necessarily coming off the injury or how you want to, what you want to chalk it up to.
Or it's just him.
I think he'll get better. I think he'll get better with time.
I agree.
We tend to forget Phillip Rivers didn't get off to a great start either with the Colts in particular.
They lost in week one.
Exactly. But even then, I think it took him really the second half of the season. You started to feel like he was developing chemistry with everyone he was throwing to. I kind of feel like it's going to be like that for Carson Wentz a bit as well.
Here's my problem with the Colts. They don't scare. They don't scare down the field. Nobody scares anybody. Who do you fear throwing the football? Is there anybody you fear?
Well, you would have said Paris Campbell, though he hasn't had the impact that they thought he was going to have.
You have to be able to scare it. If you can't scare down the field, a team like the Rams will eat you alive. I just think I wanted to take the Colts, and I was really disappointed in their defense last week. I thought they'd take the next step. There were guys open all day, and they got dominated. So I'm going to take the Rams minus the 4, even though I really wanted to take the Colts.
Just keep an eye on that Colts rushing attack. I got a feeling. They're going to try to pound away, running the football, slow down the game, limit the possessions for the LA Rams offense, frustrate maybe Matt Stafford and those guys. I just got a feeling.
Let's move on to the team that you guys have been trashing this whole show so far, the Chicago Bears. They're favorites at home, and I get it. The Bengals, they lose 15 games a season, it seems like every year, but Joe Burrow looked great his first game back. I'm a Bears fan. I don't see him winning this game. I don't see them winning many games, but it is Andy Dalton facing his former team.
I do. I think the defense is going to watch that tape and absolutely want to puke based on what they put on field last week versus the Rams. I mean, it was ugly. It was terrible. It's gut check time for everyone inside that locker room, but in particular that defense, where really, Matt Nagy's been able to hang his hat on that during his entire tenure there. If they don't have that, they don't have anything because the offensive line has a hard time protecting. We saw some big plays for the rushing attack at times, but just not quite enough. Not enough big plays, I think, downfield in the passing game. So that's really the challenge, I think, for the Bears. I think they're going to answer that call. I think they're going to have a much better game this week. I'm laying the points with the Bears in this one. I think they're going to match up well. And look, Cincinnati looked good versus the Vikings. They still got some defensive issues. And then on top of that, that game should have never gone the way of Cincinnati. That wasn't a fumble. Dalvin Cook was down. I think replay got it wrong. Then you've got the Vikings lining up to kick a field goal to win it in the end.
I see on our rundown you have an over/under on every pick. Do we not count?
I do.
We don't count your losers.
Well, you haven't been. Well, I was actually pretty good last week.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, go back and check.
Revisionist history.
It's not revisionist. Go back and ask.
We don't count his losses. We don't count his wins either.
Right. But I mean, I see it's on here. It says Bears and over.
Well, see, I actually put in 2 bets. They said you only work half the time.
No,
so that's why you don't include over/unders.
Nobody ever asked for the over/under.
So if they want to ask, I like the over in this one. So this is gonna be a decent amount of points.
And I like the Bears with you, by the way. And there he is, Bears fan over here getting angry. He's like, oh no, they're not going to be awful. Woe is me. They will win this game because I'm with you, Brady. That defense, there's a lot of veterans on that side of the ball. They're going to rebound in this game and play much better. And I think offensively they'll score enough. Hey, look,
so Bengals, Justin Fields is going to play more?
No, Andy Dalton will play, and then eventually when he doesn't play well, then Justin Fields. Why do you want Justin
Where did that come from?
Well, I'm a Bears fan. The team is, I'm just going to say, they suck, okay? So I want to see Justin Fields as much as possible. I don't care if he gets hit a few times.
At least let him lose.
Well, you don't care. They care. He cares. I mean,
at least let him lose a couple games before you get him in there. I mean, they have a legitimate chance to win this game, and you're 500 if you win this game. Of course, Andy Dalton, it's a revenge game against his former team.
And by the way, this is a winless division. You win one this week, it may put you in first place for all we know at this point. So
look,
I don't know that I'm hitting the panic button if I'm Chicago or any team in the NFC North, given how this division looks right now.
But Andy Dalton might want to try throwing one through the force field at 20 yards. I mean, my gosh. He didn't throw the ball
protect him long enough.
Throw the ball down the field once in a while. Take some shots.
Is Justin Fields learning anything from Andy Dalton at this point?
You know, he's learning how to watch a game the right way on the sideline.
Okay.
You don't learn anything on the sideline. You know that.
That's not true. You do learn some things from it. You get more familiar with your opponent. You get more familiar with the process of preparing and then in-game adjustments. There are some things you can take away from it, but at the end of the day, there's no replacement for true experience on the field. However, I mean, you look at all the guys who've sat behind someone. Now, granted, I don't know that Andy Dalton's that guy that makes it okay to sit Justin Fields behind him. But whether it was Alex Smith or Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, all those other examples, there is value in that. Ask any of those quarterbacks and they will tell you.
And every other quarterback, you guys, there's nothing can replace playing.
No, that is the one thing that you got to go out there and eventually do it, but you put them out there too soon, If that fickle fan base, all the Chris Hassels out there that are Bears fans, they turn in a heartbeat on the player on that. It matters for him.
And you know who didn't sit? Danny never sat.
Danny Marino.
Never sat.
By the way, happy birthday, Dan Marino.
I thought you were talking about Cannell, and I was like, wow.
No. Oh, he sat.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Let's move on to a matchup of 1-0 teams. And I guess you could say both a bit surprising. The Saints blowing out the Green Bay Packers, 3.5-point favorites on the road at the Carolina Panthers. The over-under is just 44. The Saints do have some COVID issues, but it's really all in the coaching staff.
It's the coaching staff. And look, it'll be an interesting challenge, I think, in-game when you're trying to make adjustments. To be quite honest, though, maybe it's a little bit easier. You got less voices, less people, but maybe less eyes, too, to help diagnose any problems you're having. But I digress. Look, the Saints played phenomenal versus the Packers team that just flat-out didn't show up last week. So, you know, I think they're going to continue to try to run the football versus Carolina. If I'm Matt Rule, it's probably the thing I'm trying to take away and really put some pressure on Jameis Winston. He's played phenomenal last week versus the Packers. However, he was put in good field position almost the entire game, never really forced to have to put that game on his shoulders. I think this one will be a little bit tighter. I think there will be a good amount of scoring. I'm going to take the over since you love hearing my over-under picks.
You got them all.
But I'm going to lay the points with the Saints here. Don't like the hook because I do think it'll be close. But I think this Saints team feels motivated by the fact that, and I was a part of this group, where Drew Brees isn't there anymore. I didn't have high expectations for this team. I think they've heard a lot of that chatter, a lot of that talk, and they're trying to put all that to bed.
This is a tough spot for the Saints. You have a big win. You go back to Texas. Now you got to go on the road.
Wait. Is this back-to-back weeks?
It's back-to-back road games, kind of, but that one was a home
It's
game.
a home one.
But
sort of.
But sort of. So, but still, Carolina looked good on defense last week, and this is going to be a tougher challenge. You mentioned it. Jameis didn't have to do anything last week. Nothing. And he threw 5 touchdown passes and didn't have 200 yards passing.
Didn't even have 150.
And he did throw a pick, by the way, that was called back.
It was a terrible roughing the passer call.
Right, and it was a terrible throw. And so we'll see this week. But I do like the Saints. It looks fishy. The number looks fishy, 3.5. But I'll take the Saints minus the point.
Okay, both on the Saints there. How about a matchup also at 1 o'clock Eastern time? The Bills, 0-1, coming off that loss to the Steelers, and a Miami team that stole one in New England at home. Boy, if you could somehow get this win, you get 2 games up on the Bills in a hurry.
You know, I don't love this pick, but I just got a feeling. Miami's playing at home. I'm telling you, Miami's playing at home. The heat, the humidity, something to this. If you're going to give me 3.5 points for the home dog, I'm riding with the Dolphins on this one. Divisional opponents, they always play each other close. And I got to be honest, Pete, I wasn't very impressed by what I saw from the Buffalo Bills offense. I think they struggled to really consistently move the football. Josh Allen seemed like he was pressing too much. I'm just telling you, something tells me about this team being able to keep this one close. I'm taking the 3.5 points. And oh, by the way, because you love this, I think there'll be a decent amount of scoring in this one. I like the over.
Let's get the scales out. Should we get the scales out? The quarterback
Are you
scales?
going to include Tua as well as Jacoby Brissett? How do you handle that?
Are you kidding me? It doesn't matter. You could add.
Well, they're both of the same size.
You could add a couple more. It's still not going to be equal to Josh Allen. And Josh Allen did not play well last week. I'm going to put this out there. I thought Brian Daboll had a terrible game plan. Awful. They didn't blitz. The Steelers are known to blitz, and they didn't blitz, and they didn't react to it. It was terrible. Remember, going back to last year, the Tennessee Titans beat them. And how'd they beat them? They didn't blitz. They played off coverage. That's something Josh Allen's going to have to improve against, but I think the plan wasn't good. They'll rebound this week, get the plan right. They've won 5 straight against Miami. I think they'll make it 6 straight. They're the better team. Josh Allen will light it up. And by the way, I like the over as well in this game.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, they only blitzed 3.6% of the time, did the Steelers, but they couldn't block them. Steelers linemen with 20 pressures in that game against Josh Allen.
Special teams are concerned, too, for Buffalo. Special teams didn't look good for Buffalo.
They had a block punt for a touchdown.
Well, there you go.
Well,
maybe a little bit. We never talk about that third phase. I'm just saying, a little bit of a concern.
Here's what you do. Punt the ball out of
that
bounds.
humidity, you know, the balls get a little slick, Pete. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Kick the ball out of the end zone and punt the ball out of bounds. There you go. Don't worry about special teams.
Well, no, that's not true. You do a mortar kick at the end of Monday Night Football. You're taking 5 seconds off the clock. The Raiders probably don't have a chance to actually go and kick a game-winning field goal. There's a place and time where you don't want to just kick it out of the back of the end zone every time. Situationally, Pete.
Yeah, I get it.
You need to brush up on your special teams.
No, special teams, they spend so much time at practice on special teams. And
we actually don't.
They said it's
we
the
really
third
don't spend that much time, Pete.
Teams do now. It's a third. No, we don't. Third of a game. It's not the third of a game.
Trust me.
Iowa State.
Teams don't spend even close to a third of practice on special.
No, I know they don't. Not a third of practice.
Not enough. Trust me.
But Look, you guys, I know you're disagreeing right now, but a lot of agreement on these picks for early games on Sunday and that Thursday nighter between the Giants and Washington. They both like Washington. They both like Philly. They both like Chicago. They both like New Orleans.
Hey, look, Pete did half his homework.
Pete, you got to start picking the over-unders as well, I guess.
Well, I will if they want us to, since Brady has included that.
We'll wake up at some point.
Huh?
We'll wake up at some
anything
point.
to include over-unders.
It's all right.
All right, we'll get it fixed. Hey, when we come back, we're going to move on to the CBS early games, including a couple surprising 1-0 teams. The Raiders, who beat the Ravens, and the Steelers, who went into Buffalo and beat the Bills. NFL game previews presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Oh, it's company time. NFL on CBS early slate. Steelers hosting the Raiders. Both those teams are 1-0. See if Mac Jones or Zach Wilson get their first win in the Patriots-Jets game. Browns 0-1 facing a 1-0 Texans team, but you wouldn't know it on the line. -12.5 for Cleveland, and the Broncos -6 against the Jags. Let's start with Raiders-Steelers. Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco with me. I'm Chris Hassel. Last week, the Steelers were all over Josh Allen. They gave him 2.3 seconds to throw the ball. And Derek Carr wasn't good against the pressure on Monday Night Football either.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean,
Well,
look at the last
numbers. 5 for 15 when facing pressure.
Okay, did he not throw the game-winning touchdown to Zay Jones? And what happened on the Brian Edwards play? Was that not a pressure too? I'm just saying, if you're watching the film,
hey, I
you
just
would
go
come
by
away
stats.
otherwise.
I don't watch. I just look.
You're
at
a
the
box
stats.
score reader.
I'm an analytics.
You stay in that box. Yeah, you stay in that box over there and tweet out whatever you want. I would bear a differ on that. I think that was one of the mistakes for Mark
He got
Wheaton.
better in the second half.
Sure, he did enough to win the game. This ain't horseshoes. That's all that matters. And he did enough to deliver at the end of the game, both in regulation and in overtime. So it is what it is. Moving on in this matchup, though, they don't have to necessarily bring pressure to get pressure. And that's the tough part about playing Pittsburgh is they could just rush forward. They could still be able to get some pressure on Derek Carr. So will they be able to run the football? Because they couldn't versus Baltimore. That's going to be a challenge. And then there's obviously going to be a game plan for Waller. You can't target a guy 19 times like that. And somehow Baltimore, even though they mixed up the looks, he obviously had production for a reason. So I think if they take away Waller, it's going to be a challenging game for Derek Carr and the Raiders. And look, this is the Pittsburgh home opener. The Raiders got to come on the road on the short week. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 5.5 points here. I'm also going to take the over, though. I do think there'll be a decent amount of scoring, at least on the part of both Pittsburgh and Las Vegas combined, to hit that over. But I just think this is a much better spot for the Steelers than it is the Raiders.
Bad combo, like I always like to say. You mentioned it. Short week, on the road, home opener. Bad combination for the Raiders. Not only that, they're down Denzel Good now on the offensive line. It's not a great offensive line to begin with. Alex Leatherwood was bad at right tackle. TJ Watt says hello. Here come the Steelers. They're going to pressure the quarterback. This is going to be one of those games where Derek Carr curls up and doesn't play quite like he did at the end of the game last night, Monday night. So I think the Steelers are the play. Here's the question. Does Ben Roethlisberger get it going throwing the football? Because he was awful for 3 quarters, looked good in the 4th quarter against Buffalo. And here's how you know there's some concern about that. He's the start of the week for Jamie Eisenberg.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. And you know what happened last week? Raheem Mostert was the start of the week, and he's no longer playing the rest of this.
Oh, dear God. That's a death sentence from Jamie Eisenberg.
Yeah, it's like the Madden cover.
One concern, though, we talked about this before the season started, is just the youth on the offensive side of the ball. And Ben even admitted, he said, look, it's going to be a work in progress for a little bit. But that's more of my concern. I mean, Max Crosby can get after it. We saw him absolutely abusing Villanueva for the Baltimore Ravens at the right tackle spot.
More to come on that later.
That pass rush has gotten a little better. And I think the defense has improved under Gus Bradley. So it will challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. But you said it. They were off to a slow start. They didn't look good at all in that game, really all throughout. Even though the 4th quarter they found a rhythm, they were lucky to have the block punt for a touchdown. That was obviously the difference in the game.
You know, those offensive linemen held up pretty well, though. They started a rookie left tackle in Moore and a rookie center in Green, and both guys actually played pretty well. I was surprised. They're going to get better and better. Like I said last week, the line isn't going to be worse than it was a year ago. Veterans or not, young kids will play better than what they had last year.
We were sleeping on the Steelers again this season. They would get off to a 2-0 start. Let's move on to a matchup of 0-1 teams, and barring a tie, we're going to get a rookie quarterback getting a first win here. Mac Jones against Zach Wilson.
I don't think it's going to be Zach Wilson. I'll put it this way. Mac Jones played the best of any of the rookie starters last week. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and then obviously himself. You know, Fields barely played, same thing with Lance. But Mac Jones looks like he's ready to take over this offense. Look, he's taking on a Jets team that I just don't think is going to be able to match up with what they do offensively. I think the Patriots are going to be able to have their way with the Jets. I really came away looking at the situation for Zach Wilson. Now without Mekhi Becton for this matchup, the protection's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And I know he did some nice things in kind of garbage time, if you will, to help make that score look closer than it was. I just think this is going to be a long season for the Jets. So I'm going to lay the points here with the New England Patriots, even though they're on the road. I feel pretty confident in that. And I actually think they may put up a decent number. I'm hitting the over here as well.
So you got the over?
Yep.
I got the under. I actually put that one in on this game.
There you go.
I got
Why
the under.
That? Do you just forget sometimes?
No, I just wanted, some games you can't like them all, Brady. You like them all.
I love them all.
You like them all.
I love them all.
And you're moving, from what I hear out in Vegas, you're actually moving the line with your over-under picks.
There's no truth.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not moving anything.
Brady releases his release on Wednesday. That line moves a half a point at least every Wednesday once he gives out.
Who told you that? The Wizard of Odds?
Yeah, Kenny White.
Exactly
right. Kenny's out there.
Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny told me that. I'm with you on the Patriots. I think Mac Jones was good, except for the first pass when he threw it backwards. I don't know what the hell that was, but he looked calm, he looked confident, and they should have won the game. If Harris doesn't fumble, they win the game, period. So I think they go on the road. One thing about Zach Wilson that I did like, he was bad for 3 quarters, and he kind of played through it a little bit and was much better in the 4th quarter and actually got his team back into that game. So it was good. You're what? You're grimacing. What?
No, I'm waiting to see something. I didn't feel the same way. I thought the one touchdown pass to Corey Davis, he got outside the pocket, he was wide open in the end zone.
And then he threw another one. He threw the other one down the field. He did some good things in the 4th quarter. He brought his team they were in the game, Brady.
Sure.
Okay, but Mac Jones was better. The Patriots are better. They've won 10 straight against them. They'll make it 11, and they'll cover the number.
1 Eastern on CBS, as is this next one. The 1-0 Texans at the 0-1 Browns, but we know how the seasons are going to go off in different points, beginning with this game, most likely. The Browns 12.5-point favorites.
That's a big number for Cleveland, and just NFL standards in general. Look, these teams aren't that far apart, even though we think they both are, and I get it. The Texans are 1-0. That might be one of the only wins they get this season. I don't think they win this game. Cleveland will win this game, but I just worry about last week being their Super Bowl. And I know they come back home, the home opener for the Browns. That's a big spot. And I think it's why they win this game. But I've got some concerns a little bit, about how they're going to be able to come back after what it was a bit of a letdown. I mean, bottom line is they had that game won, and they gave it up last week to the Chiefs. And whether or not you want to say the Browns gave it up or the Chiefs came back because of the brilliance of Patrick Mahomes and all parties involved, it doesn't matter. The Browns are 0-1, and it had to have been disappointing last week, Pete.
So you like the Texans?
I do.
Tyrod Taylor, revenge.
To cover. I think they stay within that number.
And you like the over.
I do. I think the Browns are going to score enough points.
You know what that means? We're together on this one, baby, because I like both of them.
Wow.
I like the Texans. I said last week, with all those veterans, they're going to show up early in the season and be feisty and be tough. I didn't know if they would win the game, but they did win the game last week. They won't win this one, but they're going to hang around. 12.5 points is a lot of points for a veteran team, and I think they did some really good things against Jacksonville last week.
Look, they can run the football, and that's one of the reasons.
They averaged 3.2 per rush without Tyrod Taylor's scramble.
I understand, but that's part of it, right? Yeah. And any OC will tell you that. When you've got a guy who's got the athleticism like Tyrod Taylor, or Tyrod, however Chris is pronouncing it these days.
Well,
he changes his name every week.
He does. That's the problem. And some people think they're right. No, it's both ways.
Well, I'm going to call him T. Taylor. There you go.
There you go.
So now you can't be wrong. Beside the point, though, they'll say every single time you get into a game, if you could take off for 3 first downs on any pass play, go and do it. It puts pressure on the defense. It limits, obviously, this fast they can pass rush, and it adds to that rushing attack.
But it's not demoralizing like
it's a lot more demoralizing than you think for defenders, because between the pass rush not getting there and then in coverage, if they've got guys covered down, there's nothing more frustrating than a DB doing his job and still losing out on a first down.
When you're getting pounded on and pounded on and pounded on, that demoralizes a defense.
Sure, when you run the football, but it's demoralizing when you have to stay out there in the field.
I get it when you have to stay, but you know how that is when teams pounded on you. They didn't do that last week, but I think they're going to hang around in this game. Cleveland is a good football team, but 12.5 points, is a lot against a veteran team and a quarterback who knows what he can do.
Is this the biggest line, I think, so far in the first 2 weeks of the NFL?
I think it's tied for it. I believe the Bucs are minus 12.5.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well.
That's right.
So I'll take the Browns in the over. Texans in the over as well.
Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback when they drafted Baker Mayfield. Then he got hurt. Mayfield came in. The rest is history. Moving on to another 1 p.m. game on CBS. 1-0 Broncos, golden opportunity to start 2-0 at the Jags. Do you want to start with Broncos looking good or Urban Meyer not so much?
I'd start with the Broncos because I really do feel like I went through before the season and their entire schedule, and I always do these simulations, and I do every single game, pick every game throughout the season. I had a hard time not making them a 10 or 11 win team. Between what I think their defense is, and I think we saw a little bit of that last week, and you could see Von Miller feels inspired. He's playing that way, but also with, I think, what Teddy Bridgewater brings with his passing attack and what they're capable of doing offensively. So I love the Broncos in this spot. I'll lay the 6 points. I also think there's going to be a decent amount of scoring in this game. Probably more on the side of the Broncos, at least to hit that over at 45.5. But there's something about this team. I think they've got all the components. Thank God they didn't lose Jerry Jeudy for the rest of the season. It's just, maybe the next 6-8 weeks, whatever it is, Pete. This is a good football team, though, and I think they're going to get to 2-0.
Oh, I think they're getting to 2-0, too. By the way, the Jaguars just got a pre-snap penalty called on them before the game even started. They were so sloppy last week. It was awful.
It's a young team, a lot of new pieces.
Yeah, okay, but they were sloppy.
They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. There's no doubt about it.
They were sloppy, Brady, just like my earpiece falling out of my ear is sloppy. They were sloppy. Pre-snap penalties, and it just didn't look good. They were bad last week.
They were the worst team in the NFL last year. What do you expect?
Well, they did draft a quarterback first overall who should be a good player, and he threw some bad throws.
Okay, and this is where I would say if you're looking for a mistake from Urban Meyer, it was not just announcing that he was the guy right away. They never should have kept Minshew around. They weren't going to get anything additional for him. It should have been Lawrence the entire time.
He took his reps away.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying is you take away
one of many mistakes so far from him. But again, this team has problems.
Jack's yelling at you to rap, but you can't hear him because your earpiece.
But this team has problems on defense. They're going to score points. The Broncos, the short fields, turnovers, they win the game and cover the number.
Charles,
I didn't give an over/under. I didn't give an over/under pick.
We noticed.
This is the recap of the picks. They both like Denver, by the way, in that game against the Jags. Charles Davis said on HQ today he doesn't think the Jags get their first win until week 11.
They might not get their first win all year.
They'll get a win.
Already 16 consecutive losses. All right. When we come back, late afternoon games. Seahawks looking to take down another AFC South contender as the Titans come to Seattle. NFL game previews for Week 2 presented by Caesars Sportsbook, our official betting partner. 4 late afternoon games, a couple of them on CBS, including Titans at Seahawks and Cowboys at Chargers. Let's pick them with Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco, beginning with the Titans. Terrible showing. Chandler Jones sacked Ryan Tannehill 5 different times. And Russell Wilson, like he did last season, boy, if you vote for MVP now, he'd get a vote.
He's cooking. Russell is cooking right now. And I think he sees an opportunity based on how Arizona absolutely diced up this defense for the Tennessee Titans. They're in a world of trouble now because now you go out to a place like CenturyLink that is as loud as it gets for a home opener for Seattle. They've got all the momentum after going on the road and beating Indianapolis. I think my only concern about this, because I'm going to lay the points with Seattle, but my biggest concern is if Tennessee says, well, we can't protect Ryan, so we're just going to run the football and give Derrick Henry 30 carries. That, to me, is a disaster for Seattle only because I think eventually, carry 20 onward, it's going to be tough for anyone to want to tackle that guy anymore. That's my only concern in this matchup is Derrick Henry goes off, has a huge game. And for that reason, I think it's how they're going to play this out. I love the under here. I think that's the better play here than laying the 5.5 points with Seattle, but I'll go ahead and do it.
I'm taking the 5.5 points. I think Mike Vrabel will get his team to respond. They were dreadful last week. Awful, all the way around. And when you watch the tape, Arizona looked like they had 12 guys on the field on defense. They looked slow.
So fast.
They looked plodding, and Arizona looked fast. It just wasn't a good day. Taylor Lewan was awful, and he admitted it. He was terrible. He got abused. It didn't matter. Chandler Jones abused him. Everybody abused him.
Buda Baker abused him.
And a couple other guys went in there and abused him, too. And it just wasn't a good look for them. But I think they're too good a football team, too talented. not to respond. I think they'll hang around. I think Seattle will win the game. By the way, Arizona's defense is better than Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense played well last week.
Played well.
They're not as good as Arizona. I think Tennessee, because of Derrick
admit
Henry,
it, by the way, Seattle rushed the passer better than you thought they would.
Much better, much better. And I think Tennessee will hang in there by running the football with Derrick Henry.
That's my concern. I think that's where I lose this bet, is on the spread here. I still think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do.
So the under, the better play from Brady Quinn here. That game's on CBS late afternoon. The other one is Cowboys at Chargers. So two good late afternoon games on CBS. Cowboys 0-1, almost beat the defending champs, and the Chargers picking up where they left off last season. They've now won 5 straight.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot, actually, though, for Dallas. And something tells me they're going to be able to come out, and they're going to be able to get after the Chargers a little bit, put up some points on that defense, even as good as they are, and be able to shut down Justin Herbert just enough. I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 points here. I think the Cowboys can keep this one close, maybe even outright win it. And I also think this could be a little bit more of a defensive battle than most imagine. I don't know where you're going to go in this direction. We're probably going to differ here because I know you love Justin Herbert, but I do like Dallas in this spot.
The Cowboys are playing consecutive road games, even though it's different. They had a break because they played on a Thursday, and they'll have more fans in the stands than the Chargers will in that stadium. So it kind of goes out the window. But I think this is a high-scoring game, Brady.
Okay.
And I also think that the Chargers are going to find a way to put up a big number. That Dallas defense has all kinds of issues, and I think they're going to really put up the numbers throwing the football. I love Herbert in this game. Like you said, I think Prescott will get his high-scoring game. I'll take the Chargers.
Let me just circle this one, because you think the Chargers, and you're saying the over here?
Yes.
Okay. This is the one that matters the most.
Are you going to count that one?
No, I'm circling this one in particular to make sure I see every single play, just to be able to argue back and forth with Pete on Sunday.
And you know how this will play out. 6:30 on Sunday, we'll get a text from Brady and sitting in the green room. I told you.
When I'm right, yeah.
All right, that's on CBS. A couple of other games on Fox kicking off just after 4 Eastern. The Falcons, who looked terrible offensively and defensively in Week 1, are at the world champs.
Yeah, maybe I'm crazy for making this pick, but 12.5 points seems like a lot. Obviously, it was, as good as Tampa is. I think a divisional opponent. I think Matt Ryan's going to respond. That offense should be able to respond with a little bit more offense. I'm concerned about the Falcons' defense, and that's where I think Tampa Bay will get carried away with this one and win. I do think there's going to be a bunch of scoring because of how bad Atlanta looked last week. So I'm going to say the over's the better play, but I'm going to take the 12.5 points. It's just too much to me for a divisional matchup.
Have at it. I'm not taking that. That offensive line was so bad last week for Atlanta. They got dominated, and here you have the Bucs defensive line, which can be one of the best in the NFL this year. We saw Vita Vea play so well last week, and I think the edge rushers are going to get after the quarterback. I think this is a problem for Matt Ryan all year long. Jalen Mayfield, the rookie guard, was awful last week. There's going to be problems for protecting him. I think Tampa Bay wins this game easily. They're rested. They've had a long time off. Blowout. I'll take Tampa Bay.
Matt Ryan, 4.7 yards per attempt, one of the worst of his career. Their last 31 plays of that game run in their own territory. They just could not get it done on either side. Let's move on to our last game on Sunday afternoon. That would be the Vikings, 0-1, lost a heartbreaker to the Bengals against a Cardinals team feeling real good on both sides. Chandler Jones with those 5 sacks and Kyler 5 touchdowns.
How about that NFC West? I mean, and everyone looks at Arizona as maybe the 4th best team, with the bottom, dweller, if you will. They're anything but that. I think the addition of A.J. Green to kind of open some things up in this offense, and now it takes pressure off DeAndre Hopkins, but now it makes Christian Kirk as that 3rd option in the passing game. You also got Rondale Moore. They've got legitimate speed, Pete. Mismatches everywhere, and then you still got to worry about, where's Kyler Murray? Where's he running around? What's he doing back there? So offensively, they're going to present a ton of issues for a Vikings defense that's just a shade of what they were 4 or 5 years ago for Mike Zimmer. And then on top of that defense, man, Chandler Jones, just give him Defensive Player of the Year. It's going to be hard to overcome his head start with 5 sacks right now. But the defense in general, you mentioned it earlier, they're flying around. Buda Baker, the secondary, they're all playing well. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 points. I like the over here, too. I do think they'll put up a good number.
But Chandler Jones on pace for 85 sacks. I mean, I don't think he gets there, but he's back.
You don't think? Are you sure? Are you sure he doesn't get 85 sacks this season?
Yeah, I'm sure. Can he get to 40? No. Can he get to 20? Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
With that start right now?
He was phenomenal the other day. But you mentioned Buda Baker. The corners were great.
Yeah.
Murphy was outstanding. The rookie Marco Wilson's going to be a really good player out of Florida. They stole him. Zaven Collins and Simmons at linebacker, they flew to the football. They are lightning fast on defense. And the other side of the ball, I thought Minnesota's defense would be better. Bashad Breeland was terrible last week. I mean, they just torched him all day long. They're going to torch him again. I'll take the Cardinals minus the points.
10 Minnesota penalties in the first half of last week's game. Crazy. They were penalized for 116 yards in the game. That's why they lost to the Bengals. And
that's why? Not the fact that they blew
but it is
the Dalvin Cook that wasn't a fumble?
It is not a big game in terms of being a big game.
Oh, he's saying that for Kirk Cousins. He had to get that reference.
Yeah.
Better be careful with Chandler Jones coming for him this week. Let's recap. They're starting to disagree a little bit more on picks. Disagree on the Titans and Seahawks. Disagreement on the Cowboys and Chargers, and on the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there is agreement on the Cardinals minus 4.5 at home against the Vikings. When we come back, we'll pick the primetime games in the weekend, Sunday Nighter and Monday Nighter. Great one on Sunday. Can the Chiefs put Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in an 0-2 hole? Week 2 NFL game previews presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Here are the primetime games this weekend. The Chiefs minus 3.5 in Baltimore against Lamar Jackson and the 0-1 Ravens. And Packers could put up a big number against the Lions if they get things right. They're not feeling good after the loss 38-3 in Jacksonville to the Saints. Time for our newest part of the show, Pete Prisco's Spinning Top Award.
That's a great graphic, isn't it?
It had to be Brodsky, right? That was a Brodsky graphic.
How did this start?
Remember how I always say that?
No, I know you always say
Jack,
that,
our
but who
producer,
convinced you to actually do a segment on this?
Jack, our producer.
You're gonna get a lot of 300-pound-plus men looking for you now to come take care of old Petey Prisco.
Well, there's precedent for that. When I used to cover the Jaguars, I used to do a report card grade every week.
Yeah.
And the only position that was included was the offensive line. It was all running game, passing game, but it was offensive line. So they'd get so angry at me, and it was fun because
you call bad offensive lineman a spinning top.
Yes.
Professor
And there is every week I'm going to try and find the winner.
And
there were candidates.
It's not that hard to find. You see it.
There were candidates this week though.
Yeah.
Taylor Lewan was a candidate, but he was coming off a torn ACL, so I didn't want to do it to him.
Villanueva.
The rookie Leatherwood was a candidate, but he's a rookie, so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Jalen, if you want to go inside the guard, Jalen Mayfield, A.J. Cann of the Jaguars.
Are you just going to call out everybody?
No, but the worst of the worst was Villanueva. Alejandro Villanueva was awful, and he's the winner of the spinning top. All you got to do is pop on the tape, watch his plays, take a peek. Here you go. Oh my gosh. And this is Lamar Jackson can move. He has no chance on these plays. There's the actual spin. You could see that one. He's rolling on the ground spinning. This one wasn't so bad. He just was late getting to the stunt. And all night long, it didn't matter if it was Nassib or Crosby or whoever. He just looked, and he's okay. I'm going to say this: he's got some really good things in his life, and I hate to hit a guy when he's down, but he can't play anymore. He just can't. He wasn't good last year at Pittsburgh. He was terrible on Monday night. If he doesn't turn it around, that offense is going to struggle in a big way. So the inaugural winner of the Spinning Top Award, which I'm sure will endear me to all those offensive line guys out there that get angry anyways when you question offensive linemen. They have these clinics and these schools and everything. He's the winner, Villanueva.
Yeah, you know what? I hope Alejandro hears this. I hope he feels challenged by it. And I hope he makes you eat your words. I really do.
Me too.
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to eventually somehow find this segment, reach out to Pete Prisco after the rest of the season, and just shove it right back in his face. That's what I'm hoping for.
If not, he'll get the award sometime later on in the season. You'll give it to guys.
Do you have a special award for a two-time winner?
No, but it might be a seat on the bench.
Two-time topper. Let's move on to our final two picks of Week 2. Sunday night game could be another great one. It's Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson for the 4th time. Mahomes has won the previous 3 meetings.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you feel more confident in Patrick Mahomes being able to deliver from the pocket, the supporting cast he has as far as Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And even I said the offensive line of Andy Reid, it's just a huge advantage for a team that is so difficult to stop. Ask the Browns just a week ago. So, look, I think this is a tough spot. Even though Lamar and Baltimore, they're playing at home, I just feel like he presses in these big games. And he tries to do a little bit too much at times. He still has never displayed the ability to play from the pocket like I think he needs to. And so for that reason, I'll go ahead and lay the 3.5 points here with the Chiefs. And I do think their defense has improved to a point where I think they can match up with some of what the Ravens are trying to do on offense.
I'm with you. I think this is a bad spot for the Ravens, even though they're at home. short week, and you get the Chiefs, and the Chiefs kill the blitz. And what do the Ravens do? They blitz, they blitz, and they blitz some more. And they're down guys on the back end, which isn't a good situation for them. So I think Mahomes has a big day. I don't think Lamar can keep up with him, even though the Chiefs' defense wasn't great last week. They should get Honey Badger back this week. So
they got Villanueva right tackle. I mean, that can help it out.
Right, of course. So, and hey, look, by the way, Ronnie Stanley wasn't very good either. Right. So I think that the Chiefs will find a way to win this game and cover the number.
I don't know why Baltimore feels the need to pressure as much as they do. I mean, Odafe Owe, looked like he's going to be something off of the edge. I don't know that they always need to bring pressure in those moments. I know that's kind of the blueprint of what they do, but in this case against Mahomes and the Chiefs, I'd play as much, three-man rush, eight drop back in coverage, try to frustrate Mahomes.
I would too. That's how the best
and so for that reason, this is where we differ on this one. I like the under. I don't think there'll be quite as much scoring. The Ravens, they're going to run the football a fair amount, and I think for that reason,
who's going to run it?
Well, Lamar is.
Latavius Murray?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys have another week, whether it's Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman, whoever they want to elevate, someone's going to be running it in that offense.
I joke they should have a 40-yard contest between those three and see who can get under 5. I mean, that's a slow group.
Ravens were part of a great Monday night game in week 1. I don't know if this game is going to be great in week 2. The Lions are at the Packers. It just feel like Aaron Rodgers might be setting some records in this game.
I know. He's historically dominated them, and I feel like this is that spot where, they look at what happened last week, and they're just trying to erase that from their minds, and they're going to use the Lions to do it. But something tells me I've got concerns about the defense. I don't think they've really been able to still stop the run. I'm not sure Detroit will be able to run the football effectively, to be quite honest with you. I know this much. I don't have any concerns about Penei Sewell. He looked great last week. I thought, that keeping him at left tackle was a huge decision for them to help shore up that protection. And I like how the Lions came back in that game versus San Francisco. So for that reason, I'm going to take the 10.5 points, Pete. I think the Lions can come back. Now, granted, they got an onside kick. That very rarely happens. But I think a divisional game like this, I think they can keep this close. I like the fight that I saw from that Lions team and Dan Campbell.
History says you're going to be right. I mean, they're 7-1 in their last 8 against the spread against Green Bay. It won't happen here. If the Packers had won the Packers had won last week,
so dismissive.
If the Packers had won last week, then I would probably agree with you that the Lions could get the backdoor cover. But because they were so awful, I mean, they were awful. I think they bounced back. Receivers couldn't get open, and Rodgers held the ball. The line wasn't great. They couldn't move the football. They just were not good on offense last week. That will change here. No Okudah.
Okudah hurts.
That hurts them in the secondary. They're down guys back there. I think Rodgers lights them up in this game. Blowout.
After a team looks that bad, because I feel the same way as Pete does, and I think you're kind of, how does a team do that?
It's week 1 in the NFL.
Get even week.
Look, we saw the Jaguars last year win in week 1, and then they didn't win a game the rest of the season, and who knows what we're seeing.
You think they're going to win 16 in a row this year?
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm just saying week 1, crazy stuff happens. That was a crazy game in the side of all the people who thought Green Bay might be making their way back to another NFC Championship game. It made you question that, but I'm with Pete. I worry about this pick, but I know the history of this matchup, the divisional rivalry, that big of a spread, the way the Lions fought back in that game. They showed me some heart, so I'm going to ride with them this week.
Overreaction Monday turns into get even Sunday. That's what happened.
And you guys are even after week 1. We'll see if there's any separation in week 2.
Problem, right? It's a Monday Night Football game.
Well, this one counts too.
So, just
Sunday,
saying,
Monday.
For your saying, yeah.
For everybody. No, it's everybody for the week.
They agree on Kansas City. They differ on the total there. They also differ on Lions and Packers. Are we going to count over-unders this week or just...
You can keep track of mine all you want. Pete just doesn't do his homework.
We'll see. We'll get back to you next week.
Move the line again.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.